the rock. You physically couldn't hold me. I don't care if you're pushing 40. You can never little bro me. Euro step like Ginobili, from young OG to the OG. From nosebleeds to floor seats. Circle stronger than Cuban links. My gold dance, your gold plated. You verse me, now that's the reach. We ready. Who ready?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the one-on-one sports show on the BMU Network. I'm Mr. Bennett, joined by my bald 7B brother, Trey Ferg. We're in the building tonight. Brother Shawnee should be joining us shortly. Brother Dante, he's got some things he got to deal with, so we won't be here tonight. But good to have you guys with us tonight on this Wednesday, as the Celtics and Mavericks, they're going to have their game 3 tonight. That starts at 8:30, so we might be able to follow some of the action as we go on with the sports show tonight. But again, thank you for joining us tonight. If you see scrolling at the bottom of the screen, you see our Cash Apps. Certainly any gifts that you want to throw our way, we appreciate. But more importantly than that, I'm going to ask you guys support the BMU Network. So the BMU Network has weekly content every day. There's a show. And for different topics and subjects. So, again, we want to support the platform. We're going to give certainly shout-outs and love to BMU for giving us the platform in order for us to do this. So if you considering dropping a Cash App to support the BMU Network, or certainly even becoming a member of the BMU Network, certainly that would be appreciated also. But good to be with you guys tonight. Brother Trey, how are you doing tonight, sir?
What's up, Brother Ben? I'm doing all right, man. You know, midweek. I'm always excited about midweek because that's usually when I try to shave my head, shave my face.
Right.
Yeah, you know, sun is shining.
I got you.
I got you. Right now, you know, what was it, the 11th? What's today, the 12th? Today's
the 12th. Actually, shout out to my brother. My brother's birthday is today. Shout out to him, and I'll be hollering at him a little bit later on. But
well, and happy birthday to your brother. And what I was going to say is, you know, yesterday was my father's birthday. So,
oh, wow.
Birthday to 11. So, you know, shout out to all the Geminis. We know y'all wild and calm.
Unpredictable.
Yeah, there you go.
I heard that, man. So awesome. All right. So we're going to get into this tonight. Obviously, like I said, we got the NBA Finals going on. Hey, my man Shawnee with the Green Lantern. Shout out with the Green Lantern hat on tonight. At least you're wearing the white colors tonight, not the purple and yellow. So I appreciate your gear on tonight. But how you doing?
Doing good.
All right. Well,
before I came on the show.
All right. Well, again, appreciate you being here, and you know. But yeah, and shout out to the chat. Trey's already getting started in the chat, so I'm sure he's going to keep it on fire tonight. Appreciate shout out to the chat. Appreciate you guys being on this on the show with us tonight. And so yeah, so we're gonna get there to the Mavs. You know, this show we build up. So again, there's block A, block B, and C, and so forth. So we're gonna build up to that point. But unfortunately, I got to start in this place, which I really don't want to, but I think out of respect. I think I must do the first 2 segments just to give you a heads up. We're going to be talking about the Lakers for 2 very different reasons. First reason, obviously, the big news this week from LA was that Bobby Hurley turned down the offer from the Lakers. It was a 6-year deal for $70 million. Bobby, obviously, he's a 2-time champion at UConn basketball, and so he said he's made a decision that he wants to go for that three-peat. And so he came in, you know, seemingly had some very positive talks with the Lakers. It definitely was like his job if he wanted it, but he decides to walk away from that. So you have to wonder, hey, what's going on with the Lakers? What's going on with the quote unquote brand? Is coaching the Lakers? Is it all what it's cracked up to be? Given the current personnel and the environment and whatnot. So, is it that hot property? But I just want to just go around, just get your thoughts on Hurley turning that job down, and what you may think may be some of the contributing factors to it turning it down. He is so much in love with UConn, but if they double the offer, now just to give you guys some perspective, Coach Golden State Warriors Steve Kerr makes $17 million a year. San Antonio's Coach Popovich makes $17 million a year, and even my man who coaches the Kings, I think he's in like the $14-15 million a year range. So he certainly wasn't given the best offer that was on the table. I think I heard earlier it was like around like the sixth best offer available on the table. But again, he decided to walk away from that. But I'm just wondering if the money was a little bit in that upper teens range, would that have changed his decision as well, or is simply the headache not worth the it's not worth the headache? So Sean, start with you. What do you think of the decision? And also tag the team off that. What do you think the Lakers go from here? Who's next in line?
Well, I think with Hurley, I think it was a good idea for him to go back to college. I think he would have been successful in the pros if he chose to, chosen to go to the Lakers. Um, because the way they was making it sound like you'll hope the Lakers will give him the time to build his program. They'll look at the past LeBron. LeBron may be there for only 2 more years if he signs back with LA, but everybody assumes that he will. And then you gotta, develop the young players, and I think that's the biggest thing right now in the NBA that is not really done. I think it's a mixture between college players coming out early and whatnot, but NBA they don't really do a good job of developing players. You
Mm.
you hope a player will develop, but it takes a while. It may take about a good 3 or 4 seasons, and some teams just may not have that luxury. So I thought Hurley he would have been good at doing that if they let him be him. Because the Lakers organization was since Phil Jackson had already 7 head coaches. You can't do that. I remember when they tried to interview Ty Lue, and they was trying to pick his staff. He said, "Now, if you're gonna hire Hurley, who first you got to convince him to leave UConn, where he's, trying to win back to back to back, you got to have, present a hell of a case and an offer to get him from UConn." And also, what I heard from him, which I also believe it was a good job that he went back to UConn. Uh, I heard this on several occasions. His wife played a very important role in his decision. Um, they're a unit, which I definitely respect. You going from coast to coast, East Coast, West Coast, Stores, Connecticut to LA, totally different culture. I imagine it's a whole lot more slower in stores, and his family is comfortable there. His wife is comfortable there. He's already an East Coast Duke. I think he's from Jersey, the Hurley family.
Yeah, yeah.
Everybody,
St. Anthony's in northern Jersey. So they basically ran high school basketball in the state of New Jersey for the last 40 years.
so they East Coast through and through, and all of a sudden you're gonna go to the West Coast for a team that's got hella media attention and all that. Maybe if it was the Kings, if you go on East Coast or West Coast, but if the Kings and it's not as vibrant as LA or something, they make it relate a little bit to how it currently is on the stores or whatnot. A coast like that, that may be more tempting if his family, because LA just got a whole lot going on just off the court, period.
Right.
So I think he has a good thing going on with he's damn near. I mean, it's way too early, but I mean, right now I don't really see. I mean, you got some college basketball programs that's only up, but I really don't see just a program right now because what was amazing about when they went to back to back, they did it with 2 different rosters. So it's not like he had like returning seniors one day. He had 2 different rosters. So that's how good of a coach he is in that college level. So he's damn near like a Nick Saban early stages because I just
Right.
don't see another college program right now that can really just challenge him like that. It necessarily the fact that I expect him to win three straight titles, but I expect him to make deep March Madness runs during
Right.
his tenure there.
Right.
So I think he made a good decision. It would have been a hell of a thing if he decided to go to LA because you got to remember they lost their college football already lost key coaches to retirement and their national championship coach already went to the NFL.
Right.
Then you would have had your NBA, your national championship basketball coach potentially going to the NBA. And right now with college basketball in the state they're in, it's a whole lot just going on with college sports in general, the NIL,
Right.
uh, transfer portal, and a lot of these coaches they didn't sign up for this. It was totally different when they came in, but now it's like a completely different game. And I don't blame them if they decide just like Saban, like you know, I mean, I don't got no time for this because it's just completely different, you know. So hell, you recruit a player to your team, okay, you think that's it? They got to recruit their player that's already on the team the next season. Man, what is this? So yeah, it's a totally different game in college sports right now. But obviously, if Hurley decides to stay there, he obviously, you know, he got a good grasp on it. So yeah, I think it's good that he decided to go back. As far as LA, where they go from here, I don't really know because I know Woj I think has a connection with the Hurley family from years back. They known each
Hmm.
other for a while, so he's the one who
Right.
originally broke that news. But you put LA in a situation like folks was, you know, because before it's JJ Redick, but you already got a dude who don't have any head coaching like college or professional level trying to be a potential head coach, and now you entertain the thought of bringing a potential program builder to your organization, but now that he's gone, it's like now everybody else you bringing in, you know, it's gonna be like second fiddle. So it's like it would
Right.
have been. I don't know if it was the right thing to do to bring out that news prematurely, you know, because now Lakers fans, they probably like, man, we could have had Hurley. I don't know. Some of them mad because they think they, oh, you know, didn't offer him a lot of money compared to if you're trying to get somebody out of a winning situation. If JJ Redick, I really don't know because now I just have a feeling whoever they get there, it's gonna go back to how they currently are. You may only coach 2 years and then they're gonna fire you looking for somebody else. I think Hurley was the only potential coach that they was gonna really be patient with him because that's what you know. That's hey, give me at least 5 years so I can build. But now it's just it's gonna go back. They could continue the current cycle they own, man. I don't know. I don't know.
But
That'll be
Yeah.
he's not here right now, but that'll be more of a Dante question because here how
but
pissed off he'll be now that Hurley not there. It'll
Mm.
be interesting to see what he'll
What
say
you got?
about
What you got
this.
on it, Trey? Go
listen,
ahead.
I'm gonna have to walk it down because he said a lot. And listen, from a coaching point of view, I agree with his decision wholeheartedly. One, you're looking at an older LA team who plays very little defense. His teams are built off defense first. You have a 49-year-old, 50-year-old LeBron James who's balded in his head, and you have no one after him that can really take over a game. Anthony Davis depends on if he got his eyebrows shaved or not, depending on whether or not he gonna play a good game. Come on, man. Their team is too old. They really don't have no firepower outside of LeBron James and Anthony Davis. He didn't want to go to a rebuild situation. He has a top-notch teams coming back, potential championship in college. He's making good money as far as college coaches are concerned. That little couple of million difference, shit, that's gonna be taxes in LA. So he ain't losing nothing. His everything. Now I could see him, and I don't know why Cleveland didn't make the play. I can see him going to Cleveland because they got a young team. They need somebody to fire them boys up. But he gonna come out. Now that he know the NBA is looking, if he wins the national championship, I see him definitely taking over. He can go anywhere. He gonna get his money and just go with that. But as far as competition in college, the NIL is going to change the game. Brothers that know they might not make it to the league, they might stay 3 or 4 years. So you can have a better opportunity to see some really good basketball the next 3 to 5 years. So, just timing.
Yeah, honestly, I just think the Lakers' job, for all the prestige, for all the championships, for everything that everyone talks about, I think it's one of the worst jobs in the NBA. You're walking into a drama field. You got a lot of Indians out there between the ownership. I mean, the family dynamic. I mean, Magic Johnson went in there and he was there for 2 weeks and then he left or something like that. He just walked out. And Magic is the Lakers. I mean, five rings with Magic Johnson, and he couldn't stand being up in there. So you're asking a lot, certainly with the ownership, with all the people in the front office. Yeah, then you got LeBron, and does LeBron even want to coach? I think if LeBron would be honest, I think he'd be like, look, let me coach the team. I'll be the player coach. I'll be like Bill Russell was back in the day or whatever. I'll coach the team. If they were willing to make such a move happen, I don't think these guys want to be coached at this
LeBron is
level.
too old. LeBron, he's not the LeBron of 5 years ago. He's too old. But it's good to have LeBron on a team that's trying to rebuild, but he can't be trying to hog the ball.
Right, I'm saying, but him in a player coach capacity, that might be honestly one of the better fits, because he's not going to listen to Redick. He's not going to listen to those. The only guy I thought he ever had some respect for, I think he has some respect for Ty Lue. But even Spoelstra, I was just hearing early when he was in Miami, he wanted Spoelstra gone, but it was Pat Riley said no, and D Wade was behind Spoelstra, so that's the only reason why he was able to stay there for that long. So I think as long as LeBron's going to be there, as great as he is, he's good for ticket sales, all that kind of stuff is going to be in. It's not a dream job, unless even if they did pay him top dollar. That's the thing. If you paid him $15 million plus or whatever, I still don't think it's going to be that attractive, especially if they're telling you who you got to hire on your staff, or you got to do things certain ways. Again, what coach wants to do that? And then as far as the college coach coming into the NBA, it's hit or miss with a lot of these guys. I mean, Calipari tried to do it. There's been a few guys who haven't been. I mean, Billy Donovan came in. He's been a decent NBA head coach since he's been in. But a lot of these college guys, Pitino tried to do it. That didn't work for him. So, I mean, they might want to look to guys. I could see certainly someone like, if you want to bring in a Mark Jackson, who lives on the West Coast already, so he's already used to that environment already. He might be a decent guy if he wants to bring him in, as long as he stops proselytizing on the streets of LA. So as long as he doesn't want to do that, maybe they might want to bring him in or something. I mean, he is credited. I know Tommy B. I think Tommy B's in the background there, but I think he did build that Golden State dynasty out there. So I can certainly see that happening. But yeah, Sam Cassell, he would be a good choice also. But again, you're asking a lot for these guys to go in and try to manage that. And again, a college guy who's basically, when you're a college guy like Saban, the guys, you are the CEO of the essentially the university, because all other programs at the university revolve around your program. So if it's Alabama, it's the football program. If it's Connecticut, it's the basketball program. Even Gino Auriemma doesn't have a fraction of what the UConn men get in terms of resources and whatnot for the basketball program. So your word goes. But for these college coaches who are used to having a certain level of control to then go up to the NBA and try to have not just grown men, but I mean old men, with LeBron nearing 40 years of age, plus you're saying that you need to take his son also, who may not be good enough. Now, I think their calculus was, well, we get him, he's really good, from what I understand, at player development. So if you bring him in, you bring Bronny James in, and he can help develop Bronny into a decent player. But again, you're asking a lot of anyone for that job. So for the money that they gave him, which again, he would have been the sixth best, highest paid coach in the NBA to take that job. And there's other jobs. I mean, Golden State is a cush job. San Antonio, I mean, again, Popovich owns San Antonio. I mean, he runs San Antonio. So a lot of those jobs are kind of set in terms of, them letting the coaches be, stand out of the coach's hair. I don't think he's going to have that with the Lakers. So again, where they go from here, Sam Cassell, I could certainly see it. He has, he has championship pedigree. He has a long coaching history. I even heard that I even heard that even Rondo may even join the coaching staff with the Lakers at some point. I mean, he's a champ. He's been with the team. He knows the players. He knows LeBron. He won a championship with LeBron and with I'm having a brain freeze right now. The number 2 guy on the Lakers, Davis. He won a championship there as well. Yeah, so that might be, build a staff around that. But but yeah, that's gonna be. But I think that certainly him turning that down, I think is somewhat of a stain on the Lakers' reputation, which I'm happy to see. But again, for the guy who comes in, you're gonna be like sort of like the second choice, and the question is, are you gonna be willing to live with that, and are they even gonna offer you a better deal? I mean. You're not going to get better than 6 years and $70 million, so you may get half that, 3 to 5 year deal, to take that on. So again, is the juice going to be worth the squeeze if for whoever takes that job? So they're in a lot. I think they're in a lot of trouble. And as far as I'm not, JJ Redick again, he knows his basketball, but again, is his personality going to be able to vibe with those vets? Again, not who knows,
Brother Bennett,
but
hold up.
yeah.
Bennett, I got some pushback. I want to ask you this question.
Go ahead.
Is it that you hate on LeBron or you hate on the Lakers?
Well, I hate on the Lakers. Look,
Okay.
This is like the cobra in the mongoose. All right, we are mortal enemies. So I can't. In fact, I was so torn the night when LeBron got the scoring record. I actually cheered that he got the scoring record, but that was hard for me to do. I mean, you understand? It's like I can't be on anything Lakers, and I've just in the last few years got respect for Magic Johnson. I mean, so it took me a while to get there. You know what I'm saying? So again, I'm definitely not wanting any success for that team. But again, I got to respect them. 17 championships and whatnot, and certainly there's certainly when the story of the NBA is written, you got to put the Lakers up in there. Which with that, I could probably move to the second block here. Unfortunately, again, I got to respect where it's due. Just like last week, we had to talk about the Cowboys with the loss of their player. Again, the NBA lost a legend in every sense of the word. I mean, a few weeks ago, Bill Walton passed. I don't know. He played. He got his last championship with the Celtics in '86, and today Jerry West, at age 86, died. So again, the guy's he's won on every level. He didn't win as many times, in the NBA because he had to beat he had to deal with the Celtics. I don't think he ever beat the Celtics in the during his time, and he had Baylor and all those guys, Wilt. I mean, those guys, and they couldn't pull that off. But he's a legendary player. He's the logo of the NBA, and just after his playing career, went on to be a fantastic GM, built many programs. I believe he had a hand, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he had a hand in the Warriors build. So, he's everywhere he's been successful. And one thing I didn't know about was in terms of his mental issues. I mean, he had a lot of problems, mental problems. Certainly during the time when he was playing the Celtics, he admitted all those losses to the Celtics definitely affected him mentally, and he had a lot of things he had to deal with. I don't know if you guys ever saw that HBO series about the LA Lakers, winning time.
He hated it.
Yeah. I was like, it can't be that bad, because that was pretty rough. That was a pretty rough portrayal. I don't blame him for him being mad of his portrayal there. But again, a legendary player who did a lot of things, didn't win a lot of championships, and just being honest, but he certainly did a lot for the NBA. And so again, any thoughts from you guys on Jerry West, his impact on the game, and not only as a player but also as a GM?
I mean,
You want to go
he
first,
was
Trey?
one of the greats.
You got Trey.
I mean, he was one of the greats. He has to get his his props. Scored over 25,000 points. Always kept a clean reputation for what everybody spoke about him.
Right.
Don't know what his beliefs were when he was younger, but he seemed to always present himself and respect players regardless of who they were. I never really seen him comment in public about players and personalities, little crazy stuff that a lot of us talk about as far as players. But yeah, salute to him, man. He did it. I think he's now edged the logo to be in his image until we all leave here, So,
but yeah, I was gonna actually ask that question also. Do you think? Because again, there was always a debate over whether or not he should remain the logo. A lot of people were opining that the Jordan Jumpman maybe should be the logo of the NBA, and so for a lot of people, they were contemplating that if there is going to be a logo change at this time, is in the next few years, could you see a logo change, or will it always be Jerry West as the logo? But yeah, it said Jordan, Kobe. Who else could have that logo? As a player. But what you got on the Shawnee?
Well, as far as the logo, even Jerry West said he'd have no problem if that logo was changed to Jordan. I have no problem with it being Jerry West because it's just a lot of history. Jerry West meant so much to the league, especially during the time he was balling. He played in 17 NBA Finals. Now he only won one.
Yeah,
he kept losing to the damn Celtics. You look at that roster, I'm like, that's the the Hall of Fame.
him, Elgin Baylor. He had some players, but yeah, they just couldn't get up.
You keep going against the Celtics in particular during that era. You might as well just congratulations, go ahead and get that second place trophy because it was just throwing out monsters every year. But yeah, he was a legend. He did a lot for the game. He spent a small time as a head coach, but
Trey saying AC Green should be the logo of the Lakers.
I don't know what he was posing it for, but yeah, he definitely was a legend to the game, respected by all players coming through from the past. Even Bill Russell respected him. He played countless games.
Facts, yeah, and he had some nice words to say for him today. Also, so, read those.
It's definitely a loss for the NBA community. But I heard something, because he spent so much time. But like I say, he played in 17 NBA finals. Well, he was a part of 17 NBA finals.
Correct.
As a player and executive.
Correct.
And I heard I guess it fits him that he will pass away during the NBA finals. It's just forever, tied to him.
Yeah.
So they, it's definitely a big loss for the NBA. Like Trey said, I think right now the logo now is set, especially after him passing.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I can look. Obviously, Game 3 of the finals is about to start tonight, and they're already doing, certainly giving accolades and saluting Jerry West. I have no doubt that at the beginning of the game they're going to do some sort of tribute or moment of silence for Jerry West. When the game starts or whatnot. But yeah, again, legendary player, had to overcome a lot of personal demons. And in fact, he was one of the first guys, if I remember, that actually spoke openly about his issues with me. Everyone now is talking about mental health, but even a few years ago, he was pretty transparent about his struggles with that, and just how those losses, again, especially against the Celtics, how much it affected him. So he was one of the first guys to really open up and start having a dialogue about overcoming mental health issues. And so on that front, in a lot of ways, he's a champion as well, for giving people the space and the forum to talk about subjects that are uncomfortable for a lot of people. So again, rest in peace to Jerry West, and but again, 86 years old. A lot of these athletes don't make it to that age. So certainly a life well lived, and certainly a lot of contributions to the game. And so salute to them. But wanted to move on before we we just building up here just to kind of go and make a left turn here. Talked about this earlier in the chat. I was watching a segment on I think it was like Club Shay, and apparently there was an interview with Randy Moss.
Their nightcap.
Yeah. So Randy Moss, apparently he was in an interview and he sort of declared that he was the greatest, that he was the GOAT wide receiver of all time. And so then it just became a combo about, you got Jerry, you got Randy, you got T.O., and then one guy was mentioned that I didn't actually hear mentioned too much, but you also had Megatron. Was also in that combo as well. So, I mean, obviously, Jerry has every conceivable number. More than likely, that number is not going to be broken at any time. But as far as is there any other intangible that we can actually talk about? And for the guys in the chat, who do you think the GOAT is? Is it Jerry, case closed? Or could you make a case for Randy? Because I could say, look, Jerry has the numbers. But when Randy Moss came on the scene, I had never seen anybody like that. I mean, I'm a Steelers fan, Lynn Swann, Starworth, all that. But those early games, remember that Thanksgiving game where he kind of made his national debut, and I think I don't know if it was against the Lions or it might have been against the Cowboys. But it was just like everybody.
3 catches for 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, it was like. Nobody could game plan. He was like 30, 40 yards up the field before anybody even knew who he was. I mean, the physicality, the intangibles. I mean, yeah, if he had, I would certainly say Jerry Rice had the discipline that a lot of those other guys didn't have, because wide receivers are generally divas. I could say probably the greatest attribute about Jerry Rice was he was not a diva. That, he certainly outworked everybody. And, kind of kept the main thing when it came to the point I remember watching a segment him and Prime got into when Prime joined the 49ers, that they had beef because Prime was all about being Prime. And he was like, look, we got business to do. And they almost came to a fight at the Super Bowl because Rice didn't think he was taking it seriously. So, Rice was definitely about his business and about his grind. But, but in terms of just a specimen, like if I had to, put a body in and then like Megatron, I mean, I think he retired early. He probably had another 3-4 years left if he wanted to. But there have been some freakish guys out there. And I don't know if Jerry with that West Coast offense, I don't know if some of those numbers are skewed. But you got, go ahead, spit. I'm having the conversation.
I can't believe you let him say this.
Go ahead and spit.
Receiver.
Go ahead and spit. Go ahead. We're talking here, man.
I'm just letting him get it out.
Listen, Randy Moss, he's an athlete. He's competitive. He has to be willing to concede to being 1A. When you're talking pure football skills, agility, ability to run any route, ability to outrun you, Jerry Rice is the man. Randy Moss came in the league. He was a freak of nature. He could run. He wasn't going across that middle too much, but he would hit you to deep, and he looked good doing it. And I look at the numbers, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is hard. Anything after Jerry Rice is hard to put because you got to look at your boy from the Colts. He got high numbers. Marvin Harrison.
Mm-hmm.
He got high numbers. He was a hell of a route runner. And Moss, he was a freak. I was young seeing Randy Moss. He's like, yes, he's bad. Jerry Rice, no. Because Jerry Rice, Super Bowl MVP style football play. He was always could have been if it wasn't a quarterback, it could have been Jerry Rice as the Super Bowl MVP. We ain't talking about just doing it in career wise. You see where he's at. Mm-hmm. You see where he's at. So
I hear you. Shawnee, what you got on it? Man, and again, it doesn't have to be even though those guys pick. You draft the questions already out there. Trey Brazier, you draft a team, all right? Who's your wide receiver? Who you picking your number one receiver? If it's between Moss and Rice or anyone else you want to pick, you draft a team. Who you picking?
I guess how I look at a receivers, man, because receiver is so dependent on the quarterback. The quarterback will determine your numbers.
Yeah.
Perfect example of looking at the Texans, DeAndre Hopkins, who was very skillful, but for a lot of time in his career, he was playing at one point, they was changing the starting quarterback every year. They was winning the AFC South, but he was, different quarterback. So he didn't have a perennial Pro Bowler just as quarterback until Watson came later.
Right.
So with Rice, do have Montana throwing him the ball. And then when Montana left, he had Young throwing him the ball. And then, Randy didn't have those two type of caliber QBs throwing him the ball like that. Physically,
Yeah, Tom Brady.
it just depends. I'm gonna have to go with Rice because Rice was able to get open. Route running to me is huge. He had the speed, he had the hands. Randy had just incredible athleticism. Him and Megatron. Randy had incredible leaping ability, speed. Hell, then you look at hands. You got Chris Carter with the hands. That's what DeAndre Hopkins remind me of. Him and Larry Fitzgerald, they make news when they drop a pass. So it's just when people be talking about all time great receivers, man, it solely depends who's throwing them the ball. Jerry Rice was in the offense. The West Coast offense was breaking ground in the NFL when he was there. You had a Hall of
Mm.
Fame quarterback throwing him the ball, so that was easy. It reminds me, hell, the Steelers and Antonio Brown. Brown was getting all these damn receptions because Roethlisberger was literally feeding him the ball down there every pass play. So it just matters who's the quarterback throwing the ball. So hey man, I when I talk about greatest receivers, especially receivers, quarterbacks it could be too, but I look at them as tiers. I can't put them as this is number one. The only one I could go with Jerry Rice. What was the number that stands out to me greatly for Jerry Rice is his career touchdowns. As
Mm.
a receiver, he still lead the NFL in touchdowns.
Oh
That
yeah, numbers are ridiculous. Yeah.
that record should belong to a running back.
Mm.
But as a receiver, it still stands. So that's
Mm.
incredible. I don't care if you're throwing the ball, who throwing you the ball. That's a hell of a record for a receiver.
Mm.
That impresses me like when Devontae Smith won the Heisman in college. How impressive that is. It's just some stuff a receiver just don't have no business doing up there. And that touchdown record, NFL scoring record. Well, not scoring just touchdowns because I think a kicker has a scoring record.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, just on numbers, I'm gonna have to go with Rice. But I see Trey. He's talking about Jerry Rice had the dropships his first season. Okay, and obviously he got over it.
Yeah.
So I mean, he had to adjust. Like Trey, I think you mentioned the dude came from an HBCU. He wasn't highly, like these other dudes. So he worked. He
Yes.
worked incredibly hard to get to. He had to be seen
Yes.
coming from an HBCU. He wasn't from no, I don't want to say Power Five back then, but those type of schools, those
Yeah.
type of
And he
programs.
set records in college too. The boy was
Yeah,
bad.
so he he had to come. He had to show. Obviously there was a learning curve that first season. But obviously once he caught on, he caught on. The rest is history. And but yeah, I look at receivers as tiers, man, because it's hard for me to just say you number one
Mm.
because it greatly depends on who's throwing you the ball.
Right.
But
Right.
one record I give him props for is that touchdown record. I mean, a receiver having that record that don't belong to a running back, that's incredible to me.
Yeah. 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 As far as eye test, like I said, I mean, Randy played for 20 years, which again is incredible. I mean, I think he might have set the standard for again taking care of your body, off season, the workouts, all the stuff that he did. Again, a very disciplined player, but even then, there was nothing about Jerry Rice that I thought was just like so unbelievable compared to any other receiver that was out there. He was just very consistent, which again is a great thing. You want to talk about eye test? I gotta put Randy above him. And again, people forget about Megatron. I mean, like the conversation now is talking about okay, well, who did Randy had only really 2 seasons with Tom Brady, and that one year they went undefeated. They went undefeated and lost in the Super Bowl, and then I think they had some success the year. So he was only with New England for 2 years, but he had guys like Dante Culpepper and Jeff George and whatnot throwing the ball. Well, what about Detroit? You can make a case that Detroit arguably had the greatest wide receiver and running back in their history because they had Barry Sanders. And what team did he have? He had to do basically all that stuff by himself. I'm thinking Megatron, not only, with the catches, the vertical game that I think was certainly better than Rice and possibly Moss as well. He can actually go up and get it. He can go up to the attic and get it as well. So I'm saying if you want to tell me, like, give me that situation, give me that quarterback, whether it be Montana or any of those legendary guys or whatever, you team him up with Calvin Johnson, and we might be having a totally different conversation. The man only played 8 years, and shout out to JT from Detroit. Yes, but I mean, Calvin Johnson's got to get some love also because he was a freakish guy, walked away in his prime. He was a Pro Bowler when he retired. All right. So again, in terms of who I want, if I can draft any of those guys, I can make a case for Megatron, then Randy, then if you want to go to Jerry and T.O., you want to go to that sort of tier after that, I'll make that case. But as far as Jerry being the GOAT, I don't think that's as clear cut. Based on the numbers, he's like one of those compilers in baseball. Played till 40, hit 500 home runs, and whatnot. But again, was he the guy that you had to watch on the field? And just remember, not only the teams that he played. That 49ers team had Hall of Famers all over. That defense that they had was legendary. I mean, they were solid. They were as complete a team as you can have on both sides of the ball for a number of years. All right, so that was a very stacked team that was able to play for. So look, but certainly he definitely, I would say I would put those four on the Mount Rushmore. I'll say that. I'm just not ready to just run out and say automatic. Oh yeah, it's got to be Jerry's the GOAT. I got to give credit to those guys also.
Brother Bennett, receptions, yards, touchdowns. That's all you really need to understand about it.
For 20 years. Calvin Johnson played 8.
And he wouldn't have had the stats because, again, he would have stayed in Detroit.
1 year he almost broke. We haven't had a 2,000-yard receiver in the NFL. Calvin Johnson in 2012 had 1,964 yards. He almost got a 2,000 yards receiver in a 16 game when it was still 16 game season.
Yeah,
the guy was a beast.
Yeah,
and again, and who did he have throwing on the ball? Detroit was awful. It was criminal. It was criminal. It was not for a lot of it. Stafford he came in 2000.
Yeah, Jerry Rice made those quarterbacks Hall of Famers.
Oh, don't do that. Don't do that.
He made them Hall of Famers. San Francisco was average before he got there. Him and John, wait a
minute. They won what are you talking about? But they won 2 Super Bowls before Jerry got there. They won in 81. That was the one where Dwight Clark makes the catch in the end zone. They go in and beat the Cincinnati. And then they won in 84. Where they went 15-1, beat the vaulted Dan Marino Miami Dolphins. No, he came in 85. He wasn't even there. So they were a multi-Super Bowl team before he got there. They were a very good team.
But in the height of his career, if we match up his 14 years with Randy Moss's 14 years, Jerry Rice still beats him in the numbers.
Again, like I said, I'm not just going by numbers. If it's a numbers argument, there's no argument, but based on the numbers.
But in football,
I'm just saying
you have to go by.
I'm just saying. No, I'm going by eye test. I'm like, who do I want? Give me Megatron and give me Randy. Right, and I know what Tommy B said. Yeah, if Randy feels like playing that day, yeah, that's another conversation if he wanted to play that day. But I mean, he was a freak though. But the 49ers, they already had 2 Super Bowl rings before Jerry Rice got there. So he didn't make those guys better. Joe Montana was already had a Hall of Fame resume before he got there.
Joe was a hell of a quarterback, but he made
Yeah.
Steve Young. He saved their careers. Yeah, he saved that. Because in the height,
I don't know about say. I mean, because the receiver quarterback tandem. I mean, it's they. A quarterback depends on the receiver, and the receiver depends on the quarterback. I mean, if you get a Hall of Fame receiver and a Hall of Fame quarterback, expect Hall of Fame production. So I don't.
Look at Megatron's first couple years. He had John Kitna as his quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
J.T. O'Sullivan was his quarterback. I mean, come on. I mean,
was on the level as what Rice had, and that's why I made the point about DeAndre Hopkins, because he was similar. He didn't have these type of quarterbacks, and I remember when they was asking him when he was playing with the Texans if he believed was, because I remember when it was Calvin Johnson. It was one time between who was better between him and Larry Fitzgerald. Then it was between Calvin Johnson. Dez had one season when he was looking up there because he had the touchdown numbers. And then when they saw comparing these, I think it was DeAndre Hopkins and Larry Fitzgerald at one time as well.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start looking at them with Megatron and Hopkins, they just did not have the quarterbacks. And even Hopkins, and I bet you those other receivers can't put up the numbers I did with the quarterbacks that I had.
Yeah.
And if you remember, Hopkins had Brock Osweiler as his quarterback, and he was still putting up numbers. You already know Brock Osweiler. Right. I don't know what the Texans thinking would give him that cut. They gave him a contract before they even spoke to him. So you had quarterbacks matter when it determines when you're trying to really nitpick at these receivers and who's better than who. But like you say, Mr. Bennett, when you put in an eye test, that's really all we can really do. You're just looking at their physical ability.
Yeah, and just those guys. Like I said, I think Jerry outworked everybody. I kudos to him for that. Absolutely, work ethic and discipline. The only other guy I know who even matches Jerry was Walter Payton. You look at Walter Payton, how we used to train in the offseason and whatnot, running up these hills and mountains and all that kind of stuff. I mean, just freak. He worked out all year round. He never took a holiday off. So again, if those guys had his work ethic, then the numbers would certainly be there. So Jerry did the most with the least. Again, as you said earlier, coming from an HBCU, not highly regarded, not very fast. He wasn't blowing. He had, I think, 4.5 or 4.6 40 time. Didn't blow anybody away with his but. Somehow, for whatever reason, if he caught that pass over the middle, he would take off, and nobody, few people could chase him down. So he had another gear that didn't necessarily show up on the clock when he ran. So yeah, he's easier to defend. He's gonna say Jerry there. So yeah. So if but there was definitely. That was an interesting comment, but yeah, I gotta go with those guys again. No disrespect to the great Jerry Rice, you're definitely on the Mount Rushmore, but when you got that kind of athleticism out there, and just the tragedy that those guys had to play for him, like I said, Detroit especially, Barry, Detroit now should be paying Barry some checks right now, for real. He should be. He should be on the payroll for life with Detroit for all those years. He had to do all that stuff by himself because I've never seen anybody live. I know Gale Sayers, he's known for, you watch footage of him from back in the day. He did some crazy runs, O.J. Simpson and whatnot, but Barry was like a video game. I mean, that was like playing Tecmo Bowl with, when you had him on there. But with that, so I guess we can go into the main segment of the night. Obviously, Game 3, certainly, of the NBA Finals has just started, and so that game is well underway. But obviously, the Celtics are up 2-0 in this best-of-7 series. So just want to go around. Troy, if you want to start, give your impression so far on what you've seen in this series, and more so the question, is this more the Celtics winning it, or the Mavericks losing it? So what's your thoughts on this series so far?
I would reverse that last statement. The Celtics losing it and the Mavericks winning it, because the Celtics, you look at their overall team, I think they outman and size the Mavericks as far as across the board as far as height and I guess level of experience in these type of situations. The key factor and he's out tonight is Porzingis.
Yeah.
He's the next factor that could change because he's always been in the top in the league in shot blocking ability, but he's been an average 17 to 20 guy. But that 17 to 20 on the Boston Celtics is probably, like 35 on some teams. Plus he's blocking shots, but he's not in. And the key is going to come down to Dallas's dynamic duo. And PJ and some of those role players got to step up. Right now they're off to a good start, but you know, Dallas got a good chance to sort of even the series. Other than that, back home, Boston's going to play strong. So it's going and the series starts tonight. So whoever wins this game,
Right.
will make it a series. If not, Boston in no more than 5, if not a sweep.
All right. Shawnee, what's your impression so far?
Man, I got a lot of mixed thoughts, I guess, as far as how stuff played out so far. Because defensively, remember the Dallas, they already went through the number one defensive team in the NBA with Minnesota. So it's not like they haven't experienced playing against a team that good defense. Because Minnesota they maybe even longer than Boston. But how game one, it's basically really Dallas losing these first two games because they can't make shots.
Yeah.
Boston has playing good defense, but Dallas had and they getting open looks, especially the 3 pointers. Cleaver, he's not doing nothing. Jones not doing nothing. They're not doing making any shots, and then they missing a hell of free throws.
Yes.
I kept seeing that in game two. I'm like, damn, man. I mean, Luca, Kyrie, everybody stepped to the line missing free throws. So in Boston, just like they turning it up when they need to. In game one, if you remember when Dallas was making that run, they were down like damn near like 20 plus points. But they made that run and coming back to 8. And they made a stop. But I was saying on the internet, like it was two traveling calls that pretty much just took all their momentum. They were down by 8, made a stop, and Lively got the rebound. So he was pivoting in the paint, and all these bodies kept flying, falling down at his legs, at his feet. And then all of a sudden he dragged his pivot travel call. Brown makes 2 free throws. Very next possession, Kyrie gets in the paint. He trying to make a pivot move. He gets called for traveling. And then Boston ended up scoring 12 straight points. The game was over. So it was just, Boston they making hellified defense. Now, damn so the key factor is Porzingis. Because many, you knew he was going to be a factor, but since he missed so much games, so much days and whatnot, you would think, okay, his defense could still be there, but his shooting touch, you got to get a couple of, got get your blood warming up before your shooting touch come back. This dude came out first quarter game one just busting it, and then he was making all these blocks at the rim, all these hustle plays, the Boston crowd going wild. So he was a huge it factor in game one. Game two kind of quiet down. That was more Holiday's game. But Dallas had a chance to win that game, but again, they could not hit their shots. They getting open looks, missing them. Washington can't hit corner threes. Cleaver, I don't know what he's doing. So and of course Kyrie. Kyrie is struggling right now against Holiday. Um, so it's been a good series. I think if I think this game, because so far it's looking like it looks like Dallas is finally starting to see, hey, we can make shots. And I think that will okay, they go to rim, the ball needs to go in the rim. So we can remember that we know how to do that. Now that they can, depending on how this game goes, they can remember that they actually can make shots and see if that can follow them to Boston, depending on how games 3 and 4 go. But that's you always hear them say it's a make or miss league, but that's clearly been the first 2 games. I mean, as well as the Boston defense, but they Dallas just can't make any shots, whether it's open looks or free throws. So clearly somebody forgot to how to I know a lot of fingers have been pointing at Kyrie, but
Mm.
you said he to follow through, huh, Trey? They need to do something because it's not like because I want to make sure that you give credit to Boston's defense. They've been playing, especially at the rim, because a lot of times Dallas will get past a perimeter defender, head to the rim, and then they still get blocked. But
Porzingis.
but they still be missing their open shot. So it's gonna be interesting to see. You know, right now Kyrie already has 9, 4 from 6 from shooting.
Mm.
So if he gets warmed up, that can be a huge game changer in the series. So, yeah, like I say, I was looking at this game like the role players play better at home. They can remember that they actually can make shots, and then you know we'll see. We'll just see how it goes from there.
All right. Well, Taylor, you might want to cover your ears because I'm going to be that critical Celtics fan. Even though I got my jersey on tonight, but I'm going to be critical of my team. I got to say, I think Dallas is really blowing this. I mean, yes, she had game one performance. Porzingis comes out, surprises everybody. It's like everything he put up, it was going in. Had great play on both sides of the ball. I think that was a surprise to everyone. Definitely got the Celtics momentum early. Mavericks did make a run in the second half, closed the lead down to 8. And, but then again, they, a couple turnovers and they were able to go on another run to put the game away. And then game 2, again, awful game by the Mavs. I don't know what's going on with Kyrie. I was not expecting him to come in this cold in the series. He's had awful numbers. I think he's hasn't hit it maybe until tonight. Didn't hit a 3-pointer. So again, very disappointing performance by Kyrie Irving. But the series was definitely very winnable. Certainly, I feel kind of bad actually for for the star of the Mavericks. He should definitely be getting a lot more support from his players than that. And then as far as everybody else on the team, I don't know, just being away, they say for these guys who haven't been there before, guys shoot better from home. So I'm expecting, as we're seeing so far, for them to do it. Although the Celtics are closing the gap a little bit, it's down to 4, 27-23. But the question I've had for the past 8 years, Tatum, where you been, man? You've only benefited because your team won. But again, just like you shrunk in the Warriors series back in 22, just as you shrunk in some of those Eastern Conference Finals against the Heat, you're coming up small again. All right? Everyone wants to say, oh, yeah, he had a decent game last time. He had 12 assists, not shooting well from the field. All right? He, not turning it up. So again, even if they lose this series, it's all going to be coming on you. All right, you're supposed to be the star of this team. You're supposed to be showing up. Brown, I think, has played decent. Now, obviously, Drew Holiday, I think he's the MVP of the series so far. If I had to, outside that game won by Porzingis, it's really Drew's been the consistent factor. Really got his shot off in game 2. So he's certainly so far he's my favorite for MVP of the series should they win it. But I'm seeing Tatum still coming up small in this series. All right. So again, you're supposed to be a superstar. You need to start playing like one. But I was definitely disappointed in that. I know he's off to a decent start now. I think he has 8 points at 10 points so far. So he seems like he's off to a much better start this time around. But we've been waiting for this to come up. So again, definitely, I think this series definitely could have been a 1-1 going in. Seems like the Mavericks are playing a little bit better from home. We'll see if they can certainly hold on to it. And I'm just going to say it just off the top. This reminds me very much with the Kristaps Porzingis. This reminds me of the KD injury. I think he's going to be out probably for the next 2 games, if not back in the series at all. So again, didn't like him the way he was hobbling. So my thing is, I'm not counting on Porzingis. Certainly not to have the impact that he had in game 1. I just think he just took a lot of people by surprise there. I don't think he's going to have that kind of effort again. So certainly I'm still picking Celtics in 7. But again, they say it's not a series until the home team loses. And, so until Dallas loses, I'm still going with Celtics in 7. But without, I think Kristaps going to be hobbled. And I think Tatum, he's got to step up, but I'm not seeing that so far. Again, in another finals where he's not being relevant at this point, but it seems like he's off to a much faster start for this game. We'll see if he can keep it up and keep the team in the series, because obviously Dallas is coming out with a lot of energy in the first quarter. So that's my view on it so far. And so hopefully, back we could probably, even with the show, I don't want to carry the show on too long tonight, because I know we all want to get back to and watch the game as we're talking about it. But yeah, I'm still that Celtic fan that calls it straight. So I'm not a homer. I call balls and strikes as I see them, and certainly I want to see more out of Tatum to see if he can be the closer for this series. So that's my take so far. And yeah, go ahead.
That Exum, he just took it to the rack, and I was like, with Porzingis out, as I was saying, you're gonna see Dallas attacking the rim a whole lot more.
Absolutely.
I think Gafford had a lob early in the game, which was not working because Porzingis was in the middle. So his absence of the game, I think, is going to be huge, because Boston was a great defensive team without him. But they even better with them because they got a legit shot blocker.
Yeah.
Horford, you can't. He's 38 years old.
He's a slow man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and outside of that, I mean, who else they're coming off the bench who's going to be able to give that kind of effort against those other guys? So go ahead, Trey.
What happened to Robert Williams?
He traded him. They
traded him last. Man, I've been doing all season
to get Drew Holiday. I think they traded Williams to get.
Oh man,
wasn't Drew Holiday? Was it Holiday? But yeah, they traded him.
Oh,
he was big.
Yeah, so I mean, Celtics. I mean, they basically got us. Yeah, so they're gonna have a much smaller lineup, and we'll see if Lively and PJ Washington, if they can get off tonight. So again, it's gonna be, we'll see if they shoot their load in the first quarter, and see if Celtics just walk them down the way they did in the Indiana series, who also had decent leads on them. So yeah, so I'm just gonna be tensely watching this and seeing if they can pull this off. But with that, any other thoughts, gentlemen, before I go into the last segment? This is kind of like somewhat of a closing thoughts, but so I just want to cover some boxing before we surely end for this evening. But any thoughts coming, or any things you want to
you can go for boxing. I just say whatever I say during the final thoughts section.
All right. So again, this weekend we have a major boxing card on Amazon Prime. Tank Davis makes his return after 14 months to the ring against Frank Martin for the WBA lightweight championship. This is a doubleheader. You also have David Benavidez is fighting this guy named Alexander. Now, don't ask me to pronounce his last name, but he's another another one of those Ukrainian fighters. He's an Olympic medal winner, former champion. In fact, David Benavidez, he's actually moving up from 168 to 175, in part because Canelo Alvarez doesn't want to fight him. And so again, that's the fight that the world wants to see. But Canelo, he's like, look, I'm not fighting him for. I want $100 million plus in order to fight him. So he's definitely milking it. I think that Benavidez beats him. Should they fight? So like Canelo, he's only interested in fighting 147-pound fighters, 154, 160-pound fighters. He doesn't want to fight anybody in his weight class. The one time he did try to go up to 175 to fight Bivol, he lost. So he's just trying to milk it against the smaller fighters for as long as he can. And because he's so popular in Mexico, he's going to milk that. He's going to milk that until it dries up, until he's forced to fight Benavidez, if to fight him at all. But Benavidez isn't waiting. He's moving up, and certainly there's some decent competition. There's Bivol. There's some reputable fighters up there at 175 that he could certainly make a going at. So he's going to be a part of that card as well. But again, the return for Tank, who's clearly one of the, as far as box office, he's certainly one of the box office attractions in boxing. My only concern about Tank is, again, he's been out for 14 months, and the reason why he's been out is more concerning to me. One, he had to go to prison. He was involved a few years ago in a hit and run accident, so he was on house arrest for a while, but he considered house arrest staying in the Four Seasons. And once the judge found out he was chilling in the Four Seasons, he said, obviously you're not showing the proper level of contrition, so we got to lock you up for a couple months. So he was in prison for a minute, came out, lost a ton of weight, And he also, side note, again, I don't know if I wouldn't credit this as a negative in any way, but I think he also converted to Islam as well, and so he also went through Ramadan this past year. So the bottom line is, you just don't know what kind of shape that he's going to be in, and I don't like it. I've seen in recent fights when these fighters take this type of time off, you're just not as sharp when you come into the ring. And Tank is one of those guys. He likes to, he's willing to give up those early rounds just to kind of figure you out, and then he's got the power to take you out one punch. And if he's waiting for that in this fight against Frank Martin, who is a decent boxer, he doesn't have a lot of power, but he's a decent boxer. He's got height and reach advantage on Tank, and so he can certainly, and he's been the more active fighter. We'll see if that ring rust is going to be a factor. I still think Tank wins late round stoppage around round 9 or 10. I still pick him to win the fight. I think Benavidez, again, he's moving up to fight again a seasoned Ukrainian fighter. And one thing from last month, you had 3 Ukrainians who won world championships last month. You obviously had Usyk defended his title. You had another guy who won a title, I forget his name off the top of my head, who won it lightweight. And then you had Lomachenko. He also won his belt, beating a guy from Australia in his fight. So again, Ukrainian boxing slowly but surely is sort of, they're sort of taking all the titles at this point. So again, those guys are very well skilled in boxing. And so Benavidez, again, fighting a bigger man. So again, it may not be the cakewalk that he wants also. He needs to be careful as well, because he's not fighting a guy that's smaller than him. But it should be a good card. It's on Amazon Prime, pay-per-view, $75 for the pay-per-view. More than likely, I will be ordering this fight this weekend, Saturday at 8:30 it starts. So I'll be sharing my thoughts on it, especially if there's any major upsets on that card. I'll definitely be sharing my thoughts on that on the next show. And, maybe, I think Mandrell, most likely, he's going to be interested in that fight as well. So I might be able to pull Mandrell into that conversation so we can do a review of the fight card weekend and, share our thoughts on that. So just wanted to cover that on the boxing end. And, certainly looking forward to this weekend's festivities. And I think we should probably have another playoff game by then as well. Game 4, I think, is going to be coming up as well. We'll be able to summarize that. But
every third night, 2 rest days in between each game, which is, makes it drag a little bit longer.
Yeah. Actually, the game now, they're in the second quarter, 31-30. So I don't know, did Dallas shoot its load, so to speak? Did they empty the guns and Celtics are taking over? We got to see, if they, because that can be demoralizing a team when you come out, swinging, and the team kind of walks you down. That can tire you out just as much as
that happens though. That home team, especially game 3, they feed off the energy, which when the Mavericks, when it was 9-2 early in the first quarter, you definitely heard the fans. But
Celtics just went up.
They don't look like the same offense without Porzingis.
Yeah, but Celtics, they just went up. So again, it could be that that crowd, they're silencing the crowd. I'll say that much. So that's the one thing. And you're down 0-2 and knowing that you're back against the wall. So we'll see if if they can weather this storm by the Celtics coming back, and we'll see if they can take the game over. But again, I think certainly just given the game, certainly want us to be able to go back and enjoy it. We can probably, I guess, start our final thoughts at this time. I think I shared mine certainly on the boxing angle. Any other thoughts, gentlemen, that you have on anything sports related that you want to go to? Trey, you want to any closing thoughts on your end?
Well, shout out to training time. It's time for everybody going to training mode. It's OTAs in football, so everybody should be hitting that training mode for the summer. Get your body together, especially you 40 and unders. Y'all need to definitely be out there exercising. You know what I'm saying? Think about your health. Hydrate every day. The weather is getting hot, so make sure you hydrate, preferably with water. Maybe take some chewable gummy vitamins, multivitamins, but get something in you that's going to be nutritious. Watch what you eat. Save your money. Get smarter, stronger, faster. and watch the change develop. So, that's all I got, man. It's always a pleasure, man.
Awesome. Always a pleasure to be on with you as well. Sean, you want to close this up?
Well, my final thought is just Steelers decided to extend Mike Tomlin for 3 years, which the whole Mike Tomlin thing just fascinates me because he is so respected outside of Pittsburgh. Everybody always talks about, another winning season, another winning season, another winning season. Well, Pittsburgh, those fans are in the same ilk as the Cowboys fans, the Packers fans, I guess the newly Patriots fans. They want titles. They didn't care less about winning season. They want titles. They are accustomed to their team winning titles. And locally within Pittsburgh, they want to change a head coaching position. It's completely the opposite what the national media and the national sports fan base think about Mike Tomlin. So that always was fascinating to me because in Cowboys, national media talk about Dak or McCarthy in one way, and it's pretty much now it's shared within DFW,
right?
Especially the Dak part, because I think you starting to see that kind of sway over now to we want to change in quarterback, but with Tomlin, national media they constantly praise him for his winning seasons, even though it's not getting rings, but they constantly praise him for that. And Pittsburgh, man, damn the winning season, man. We want deep playoff runs and titles.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
But still, congratulations to Tomlin. He is definitely a last of a dying breed type coach. I know when we was talking about the Lakers earlier to start the show off, it's anti-Lakers the way they operate. I mean, Steelers don't swing; they don't change coaches like that. They have a history. They stick with their head coaches, and I definitely respect that because if you got a coach, I don't know. I guess Mr. B, you probably will know more than me. I haven't heard really too much about his voices when could possibly be wearing thin within the locker room, because usually that's the
never.
Yeah,
he's very well respected by the players. In fact, you've already had T.J. Watt and Cam Hayward. They were like, look, they don't want to play for another coach.
So as long as that's there,
so he's certainly been able to maintain the locker room. Guys love to play for him. He's had some bad breaks over the years in terms of injuries and whatnot going into the playoffs a lot of those years. But they haven't won a playoff game, to your point about the fans. They haven't won a playoff game since 2017. So actually 2016, they actually lost the opener against Jacksonville Jaguars in the season where they were, everyone's predicting that they would get to the Super Bowl, and they've never been able to get back up to that level ever since. But they had an aging Ben Roethlisberger. They've had some major defensive lapses, and certainly, even this year they limped into the playoffs playing with their third string quarterback. T.J. Watt didn't play in the game, but again, they're building up a new offense. They got new OC, and certainly beefing up their lines and whatnot. So they definitely try to go to a power running football style. Russell Wilson, he's definitely, I think, solidified it himself. He's definitely going to be QB1 coming into the season. And I think that, there's a lot of optimism that they'll be able to certainly get beyond just limping into the playoffs and hopefully making a playoff run. But obviously, I'm happy for the move. But I can tell you with the Steelers, I've heard the fire Mike Tomlin chants for the last 8 years. And so it's like every year it's the same thing. But they're kind of like Celtics fans. I mean, when you had these franchises who are used to winning, or being in the mix every year, they definitely want more than just being there. And but the team's always good enough where they're not gonna tank a season either. I mean, you figure they could probably use a 5-12 season or 4-18 season so they can move up and get some of the premier quarterbacks and those kind of players. But they've been able to kind of stitch together a winning program over these years. The ownership is certainly happy with him. So I guess they're not necessarily moving off of him. And so he'll be through the 2027 season unless he decides to hang it up himself. He'll definitely be with the team. So definitely happy that he's staying around. Hopefully they'll just have better success in terms of staying healthy, so they can again get into the playoff fully staffed and be able to make a decent showing in a playoff run. But definitely are optimistic about that. But with that,
the Steelers kind of during the Tomlin area is damn near like the Cowboys, because it's not like they're not making deep playoff runs, but they're not losing. So it's like you're stuck in that middle. And the Cowboys, they constantly be picking. They don't like to trade their draft picks, so they constantly picking in that between that 16 through 25th pick.
Correct.
In the draft.
Correct.
And it's just do you want to just reset so you can get higher draft picks or something? But what I do like,
they're not a tanking franchise. I mean, I'm certainly even doing the Cowher years. They had some 5-win seasons and whatnot. Under sub 5. In fact, that's how they got Ben Roethlisberger to begin with, and that they were able to draft him relatively high. So, so they've gone through some seasons where they've had some lows, but they haven't had that with Tomlin.
Atlanta mediocre. That could frustrate.
But the Cowboys, though, y'all problem is there were teams y'all should have beat some guys. I mean, like I said, the Steelers were like hobbling into the playoffs. Dak has just not shown up. Look, I don't wish the brother any ill will, but I mean, he has not stepped up in the playoffs. The last time he stepped up, I would say, the only playoff I will give him, that's right. That Aaron Rodgers, especially when he throwing to the side and he caught the guy on the sideline that set up the game-winning field goal. Yeah, that was the last time Dak, I would say, balled out. But this last year when they got blown out by who blew them out in the playoffs? Yeah, I mean that was just like and I said that Love was coming. I was praising Love that whole last season, that he was going to be a future star in the league. I wasn't expecting that though. I mean, so to lay down the way they did, I think was disappointing. So I think Dallas has to get over that, whatever it is, whether it's Dak or whatever the culture, whatever's having them play subpar. Because again, but there were several playoff games where you guys were actually in position to win the games and didn't come through. So that's a whole nother.
Hold up, even with Tony Romo,
Aaron Rodgers throw and
worse
the
than
one
that.
with the infamous Dez caught it.
Yeah.
Both of those particular Dallas squads were very good. They had
Right.
qualified rushing attacks, and they were DeMarco Murray and Zeke. But just controversial plays. Well, one was controversial, the other was just a hell of a play.
But what was the playoff game where it was like at the end where Dak had the ball? I think they wasted a bunch of time trying to get.
That was so they lost against the Packers last year.
Right.
The previous season they lost against the 49ers. It was the season before that.
Right.
They played against the loss against the 49ers. That what you talking about? Where he just ran time. He took off running and then they took too long to get the ball snapped.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, it's always something with that squad.
You guys were in control of that game for a good portion of the game. You guys were in it, so I think that's a different set of problems, and then that's also going to factor into whether or not are they going to still try to sign Dak to a long-term extension. And also you're trying to sign CeeDee Lamb. Also, he wants a long-term deal. So
and Michael Parsons.
Yeah. So you guys,
right now they in salary cap hell, man. Because
the bad business of Jerry Jones. All that's bad business, man. He should have paid everybody.
They waited too late to sign Dak, and they paying for it now. And now you're gonna potentially, if you re-sign Dak, he's gonna take up 30+% of your cap. Then you're gonna find out about Parsons, who's going to demand top dollar. Lamb, I don't think he's gonna get more than Jefferson, but he's gonna get close.
Right.
And it's just
You think he's over 30? You think he gets 30?
I mean, he's damn sure gonna try.
Yeah, because I know St. Brown got 30, right?
Yeah,
with Detroit, he got 30.
St. Brown got. He's gonna get at least what St. Brown got.
Yeah, So
man, I mean, I don't know, man.
Well, guys, the one thing I love about the One thing about the NFL, it's almost all year because again, we just came out of OTAs. Now it's mini camp. You're gonna get a little bit of break. July, they're gonna be back in
damn Aaron Rodgers now. I'm like, what? The
yes. So the NFL, it's almost kind of like there's always something to talk about. It's like a 12-month out of 12 sport. But that I think we should.
Though. That's marketing. NFL do that. That's when we all this conversation talking about WNBA, how they don't want that.
I'll be honest. The Steelers are gonna host the draft in 25. I don't see how they're gonna pull that off because you're talking about a million. They're talking about arguably a million people going to be in Pittsburgh during that time. I just don't know how logistically. If I was a Pittsburgh resident, I may want to leave town that weekend for real because it's going to be.
House on Airbnb for a little
that's what I'm saying. I'll make a killing doing that. But I would not want. I mean, it is not. Pittsburgh is not it's not a metropolitan type of city. It's not New York, Chicago, L.A., Detroit. It's not in that category. I think it's like they got like 500,000 people there, and it's crowded. It looks like, from the things I see, it's like one of those old crowded former steel towns. So we're going to have all that. The airport now, I think they're supposed to also be either doing an extension of an airport or some renovations to their main airport there. But I just, that's just going to be a nutty situation. So yeah, it's going to be crazy. But with that, what's that?
Like Kyrie's starting to finally join the party. He guarded 3 for 5 from 3-point land.
Hopefully
back and forth though, but
right.
He done find the bottom of the net. So that's a good
it's like him and Tatum. They're definitely better off. Tatum's got 18 already, so definitely he's off to a hot start. So hopefully he can keep it up.
Already?
He's got 18. Yeah. So he's cooking. So this is what we need to see. But with that, we're gonna close out the show so we can all of us could enjoy the game. Definitely we'll see you guys next week. So Brother Dante, hopefully you'll be with us next week. Take care of your business. And but for everyone else, have a great, enjoy the rest of your week. And we'll see you next week on the One-on-One Sports Show. You guys take care. Have a great night.
Yeah, peace.